Hello, folks. Today we have Bedward Ortiz with us. Bedward is actually really a young entrepreneur, and he's basically, he has 10 years experience in real estate. Real estate, basically the side of real estate. He helped, buyers and sellers finding right deals which are not in the market sometime. And also, what I really am intrigued about him is that he basically has a very, unique and honest system where he help his customer even before setting up the deal and after setting up the deal. And so he's more, it's easy to say, but reality is he's more into relationship. So he asked me a bunch of questions, and he said that, hey, Rich, we should really do a podcast on your journey because your journey is very unique. Because I had, 20 years in global operations, and then I started the real estate. And so he asked me a bunch of very unique questions. And by the way, another angle Bedward has, which really intrigued me, is that he's a marketing for guru. So his education is in marketing and his heart is in marketing, even though he's in real estate. So he asked me very intriguing questions. So I said, okay, that would be a good idea. So we start this series of podcasts, which are going to be on real estate, but it has a different angle. It is going to really be for those individuals who are high worth individuals. They are tech entrepreneurs or professionals, doctors who have some, funds sitting, but they really don't have time or expertise. So their journey is somewhat like my journey. So Bedward said, why don't we really start a podcast and let people learn from your experience? So I said, that's great. So with that, I will just go to Bedward and let him ask his questions. Bedward, go ahead.
Rich, thank you so much for that introduction. I'm honored to be here, especially knowing your extensive experience, not only in global, leadership, but also in the real estate development, and how going from MIT to Harvard Business School, and knowing that a job wasn't for you. And I think that people that are going to be watching this, Rich, they feel the same way, that a job is not what they really want to settle. And today's interview, I'm honored to be interviewing you today, Rich. And I know we're going to speak to those high income earning individuals who have a risky crypto profile or in the tech field. And today, our goal is to really extract from you your experience and how you can help these individuals who don't have the time to really invest in real estate or don't know how to get started. I think you're the right guy, and I'm excited to be here. So I want to ask you this, Rich. Just because people sometimes don't feel like they have the time to invest in real estate, and I want us to tell us a little bit of your story, how you went from that global leadership role in the corporate world. How do you end up in real estate investment? Can you tell us that, Rich?
Okay, sure. Thank you, Bedward. So, first of all, honestly, I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I always really thought that job is really a modern day slavery. So, I really wanted, first of all, I wanted to help people. Really an educator at heart. And whatever I learn, I like to share, propagate. And that's the reason I actually developed a leadership workshop at really my first job. I only have done two jobs. One at Holmes Group as a corporate vice president of purchasing and third-party manufacturing. I set up global operations and third-party manufacturing facilities in China, Europe, Americas. I've been to a few dozen countries. And then from there, I actually started a company called MRP Market just before September 11th. And the idea was to, those days, I mean, I'm talking about 99, 2000, when, bringing goods and services from China all the way to US was not that common. And I set up, that instead of raw material, we bring in, specialized components, like chips or medical devices and their parts and what have you. And so and also consumer electronics and those parts. And yes, people were doing manufacturing all around the globe and in China as well, but it
Yep.
wasn't that easy. I mean, you're
Mm.
talking about just when the internet became available and cell phone were not that common or not that good. So you're still using faxes and, handsets and all that. So basically at that time, I thought that if you can set up a global e-commerce engine,
Mm.
where you remember that eBay was very new then, and there were not many companies who are really specialized in specialized components. You could just do an eBay. There was no supplier market. There was no Alibaba then yet either. Alibaba came afterwards. So my idea, vision at that time was that you set up specialized company that does not deal with consumer products but specialized components. And now you, instead of going through faxes, and because the e-commerce is just opening up, and instead of being eBay everything to everybody, you have a specialized platform where manufacturers, sellers, and buyers of the manufacturing companies can interact with. So I think I was a little bit early in the game at that time. My competitor was also Harvard Business grad, who had actually, their thesis was their business plan was based on that, and they started the company about the same time. And they only have a couple of dozen of suppliers, and they actually, because they were new and it was hot at that time, and they were sold for
Mm-hmm.
$550 million just before
Wow.
September 11. And unfortunately, I got hit with September 11 and we became zero. And nobody was investing
Wow.
in, in e-commerce at that time. So I decided to then go back into the industry and started consulting. And I was hired by a company called Nipro. And after, first couple of months, they said, man, you are making portion of our profitability is going toward you and you're too expensive. So we have to hire you. We got to bring you full time. So I was a single bread earner at that time with young family. I said, okay, that's fine. Let's do it. And then I ended up working 11 years for them, setting up their global operations and their supply chain, not just for manufacturing goods, but also for IT and systems and all those kind of infrastructure. And then I developed a leadership workshop because I realized engineers don't understand finance guys and marketing people don't understand engineers. So I set up a global leadership workshop where I put cross-functional teams, and I really built, hundreds of case studies of the company itself, dealing with different issues. And then those case studies, I use them to train, cross-functional teams. And those leadership workshops become very popular in the company. So I went around the globe training people, cross-functional teams. First 2 days were educational, and the following 3 days were actually execution of all those case studies, all those problems. We solved them in live sessions with suppliers and buyers and all that. So anyway, so that really was my experience. And then in about 15 years ago, I realized that we need to really look into how these things could be used in different industries. So I basically, like I said, I had entrepreneurial itch, and then I studied 100 different businesses from real estate to restaurant business to consumer electronics, consumer industrial, service industry. So I studied 100 different businesses, and I realized at that time in my life, real estate is the best suit for me, which gives me not only the passive but the active income as well. You could do real estate passive income or active, and then basically I started realizing that I can implement all what I have learned around the globe, and then I can offer different niche for real estate. So that's how I started, and that's how I still believe that these case studies we can present to tech entrepreneurs, and they can benefit from these case studies, and they could really set up their passive or active income in real estate for a sustainable income. Instead of being risky portfolio, you balance the portfolio.
That's a great way to end, Rashid. And I love your story, especially because I feel like today we can relate. Back when you started, e commerce was very, very hot. But one of the topics that I know has been exploding in the internet and all over the world is the crypto market investing. And I want to kind of segue into that a little bit because obviously you lost it all in the e-commerce. So there's always a risk that we take when being entrepreneurs, and I know that you know personally people in your circle who made millions of dollars in the crypto investing, but then lost millions of dollars very fast. So I know one of the reasons that we're talking about today is how to limit your risk, how to diversify your portfolio. So where if you're watching this video today, you definitely want to stick around to this answer in this story because Rashid has a very close circle of friends, family even, who can maybe relate to you if you made millions of dollars in the crypto market and you lost them the very next day and now you're wondering where do I put my money. I think Rashid has a very unique story. Rashid, can you share that with us, the risk of being in the tech and crypto and how going into real estate can really balance that out for a better and safer portfolio?
Yeah, so basically in in 2001, I went from top 1% earning to zero. I lost everything I had made in the e-commerce,
Wow.
and I learned some lessons, and restarted my life almost. And then I worked 11 years in corporate America and rebuilt myself. But again, no matter how good of a job you have, you are always working for somebody, and you feel slavery, and you cannot use all of your skills you have, no matter what job you have. You could be even president of the company, but if you are not founder or entrepreneur, you just don't have that freedom to do whatever you really can and want to do. I remember I met Jim
Mm-hmm.
Collins, who wrote a book, Good to Great, and his famous quote is, "First who, then what." And I went to Chicago to be part of his
Wow.
big program. I think there were over 1,000 people in his in his class, and it was a huge hotel ballroom in Chicago. And he delivered you know his speech, so to speak. And then he asked, said, raise question if you have questions. So I raised the question, and I raised the hand, and he asked me, okay. So I said, look, you always say first who, then what. Mean select the right people and then get onto the bus and then ask them where to go. So I said, most of the middle managers in corporate America, they have to deliver what, but they do not have ability to select who. Not always you can go to a
Wow.
corporation, no matter what job you go, and next day you're gonna have a liberty to hire who? No, you have existing team who have existing culture, who have existing mindset. Now you have to deliver what, because you are hired to deliver those what, right? Like either 10%
Yes.
improvement in this and 15% improvement in that, and this much revenue and this much improvement. But you have the team and you have the culture. So how do you solve that problem? So he didn't have a very good answer. He dangled around and he said, well, you always have some sort of empowerment to select who. I learned through the experience that you may not have the ability to select who unless you start something fresh. Okay.
Wow.
But then you need to learn to navigate the existing culture and develop people through leadership workshop. And that's the reason I started leadership workshop, because you got to bring people of different background on the same platform. And that's the reason I started this 5-day leadership program. So now, going back to your question, that how do you really manage this risk factor where you are in different industries? At that time, e-commerce was very risky but very rewarded business. Nowadays, crypto is a very risky business, very risky industry. Yes, there is a reward, and I do believe there is a future in it. But I believe this is still at a very, infantile stage, and you gotta be careful. If you are investing in crypto, buyer be aware. You could lose. And to tell you the truth, I have lost a decent amount of money in crypto as well. Because when you're an
Wow.
entrepreneur, you try everything. When you learn.
Right.
So I actually, if somebody want to know balanced portfolio and crypto and real estate mix, I actually already have a video on my YouTube channel. Watch that. It says, how to balance your risk. And but over here, I just will give you a quick synopsis that if you really are in risky portfolio business, and not necessarily you have lost everything, if you haven't lost everything and you have something, my guidance to you, because I've seen many of my family members who made a lot and lost a lot, and I always give them advice to balance your portfolio. And yes, you can invest in different ways. Some people like to invest in stocks and trading and what have you. I believe, and I have studied 100 different businesses, I believe real estate is the most risk averse business and sustainable. And it was there from day one, and it's going to be there till the day end of the days. So, and even God says that if we want to give you stability on the earth, we give you ownership of real estate. So, these are
Yes.
sort of
Wow.
my words, but I got this idea from Quran. And I'm sure Bible has the same idea that whoever God has given stability on the earth, is given some sort of real estate. So real estate is something which is going to stay forever. Now we can talk further that how to further mitigate risk in real estate. But I honestly felt that, this was the best decision I made. This gives me freedom of time, and this also gives me ability to utilize all of my skills, my engineering skills. I use my engineering skills every day, and we can go on and more in podcast and talk about that. I use my
Yes.
operation skills. I use my leadership skills. I use my negotiation skills. I use all of my skills every single day, and yet build the real estate portfolio. And that's the reason I want to share with all of you, and especially my those brothers and sisters and friends who are in the high tech business, or they are doctors or engineers or professionals, and maybe even business owners who do not have real estate portfolio. Every single friend I have, I always teach them that you don't need to come to me. You can come to me and I may advise you. But my advice to you is that you can watch my videos for free, and or other people's video, and you need to really have a real estate portfolio. You need to invest a certain portion of your money into real estate if you want to have some sustainability.
No, and I appreciate that you said something so important, Rashid, that you study over 100 different businesses. So when you're an entrepreneur or you have a lot of money sitting around, you just don't know where to put it, right? Given the fact that you looked over so many, I think you said restaurants and different industries, and you land in real estate, and you said something very important that when you are the landlord or the owner of the land, right? It's kind of like a quick comparison when a king owns a kingdom, right? He owns the wealth. So
Yes.
in this comparison here, I think that's what people want to do. They want to own their freedom, right? They don't want to be slaves to work, like you said, modern day slave. So what are the biggest misconceptions? I want to ask you this because I know you're helping a lot of young entrepreneurs allocate their wealth in a way where they don't feel like they're going to be tied up to a job where they won't have time. And that's what I want to get into. A lot of these high income earners, entrepreneurs, they may say, well, Rashid, it may have worked for you, but I just don't have the time to get into real estate. What would you say to those individuals who feel that they don't have the time to get into real estate investing? How could you, with your engineering mindset and again the experiences that you have, how can you help them overcome that and say, listen, we're not going to get you tied up in a 9 to 5. Matter of fact, we're going to handle a lot of this for you. Can you explain a little bit how would that look like when somebody does decide to maybe partner up with you in this journey?
Okay, so first of all, you need to decide you want to be a passive investor or active investor. That's a first distinction you have to make. My suggestion to you is that if you have something else going on, start with passive. You don't have to go active from day one. Even I started as passive, you know, but my journey, passive, I was doing consulting and something else, and then I started learning about, real estate. And I did first and second and third. I only did three fixer upper, and the first fixer upper was my own home, my first home I owned. My first home I owned,
Wow.
I bought really a very rundown place, and I fixed it up, and I did well. And so when I got totally beaten out in 2001, and the first money I got, I was zero. And then when I started making money, and I was lucky that I got a pretty good bonus because I was able to save company $1 million in very short period of time.
Wow.
It was actually within a month. So they gave me a very nice bonus. So the first bonus I got, I decided that I need to really get because I didn't own any home. So I decided I need to buy a home. So I bought the home myself, and it was a rundown home, and I had a vision. So that's another thing that God has given me ability to see through, and that's one of the characteristics of a good leader, that a leader see what the other people don't see. So I was able to see
Yeah.
the potential. I found the right town, the right location for many different ways, and then it was a rundown with full of all kind of junk, and I was able to buy that and then finance it. And hence, at that time, any single friend I took over there, and you got to understand, at that time, I was not a real estate investor or real estate agent, but I just had an urge and understanding. And basically, they were telling me, don't buy this, this is trash. I said, okay. And I bought it. And actually, I can just tell you, within less than 2 years, I I touched every single inch of that house from inside to outside, and I made
Wow.
well over 100K in the first gig. And I will call it a
That's not
failure.
bad for a first time.
And I can tell you that the house was not even very big. So it was so it was more than 50%, you know, margin in less than two
Wow.
years. Excuse me.
Wow.
So
You don't
so
get
so
that at the bank.
so that was my first gig, and then I had a second gig where I was able to see again, because of my engineering and global operation, skills and all that leadership. These are indirect learning. I was driving by. I started networking with somebody. Every time I go by, this person was working on their lawn. I started developing relationship, and then one thing led to another. I asked him, what's his plan, and he told me his plan. And I realized that he had a single family home, but he has some land in the back. And I did a little bit of, investigation on my own, and I was able to realize that there's a potential here, and the person really needed some help to move because, he needs to move out. He was a single person and he couldn't afford all that, and I was able to move him to a different, nicer location, and I bought that property from him. Again, once again, I was not an agent yet. I was not a broker. I had no real estate, knowledge at that time. I had some, but not a lot. So I bought that, and then I was able to develop a whole. It was one home, and I was able to develop like 6 homes out of that. Actually, four
Wow.
multifamily, four multifamily, and two single family. It was a mixed zone. So, and then there were others like that. But anyway, it goes back to, how do you crack that nut when you especially don't have time? Well, my mantra is that do the best, outsource the rest. You continue doing what you're doing best at, and then find the right
Wow.
partner who knows the other side. Now, I don't really do this for living yet, that I find deals for people, but I could help if there is a high worth individual serious. There will be a filter. We are thinking of setting up a funnel where we will not be taking everybody. We would be selective on certain individuals who are who want to invest certain portion of their portfolio, and we then manage that portfolio for them, or we become a partnership. It has to be, they would not be paying a single penny to me. They would be paying toward the new corporation we set up, where we will have maybe 50-50 or some sort of a venture. So that needs to be established. However, if a lot of my friends, they call me, and sometimes I set up the video for them. A lot of my videos are based on the questions people ask me. Hey, how do I start? So I have a video already on my channel that says how 5 steps to become a real estate entrepreneur, or 10 steps of buying the first land project. And I have different videos already in there. Learn from them. If you want a first consultation, I can just take a call. But to be honest, time is my biggest commodity. I can't be just answering your questions and not really doing the work. My first consultation would be free, but then after that, we have to find something which will help, both sides.
No, that's key to know that you're able to see what other people don't see, and I think that's where in real estate a lot of investors miss out because they don't know what they don't know. And again, given your experience, and I know you spoke about value chain and and how that plays a role in your engineering background as well and your global leadership. I think we're coming to the end of this podcast here, but if you've been listening this far, it's because you're really interested in knowing, how I can mitigate my risk, how I can get into real estate without being a full-time investor or not knowing where to start. I know, Rashid, when you started, like you said, a lot of your friends discouraged you, right? But you had that insight, that knowledge, that push that said, no, I think there's potential here. So for people that are watching right now, especially young entrepreneurs in the tech and crypto market, partnering up with Rashid has been for me definitely an opportunity that I don't want to miss out on because the knowledge that he has, the insight, the connections that he has. I know you have a assisted living project coming up, which is I think what do we say, 88 units? Am I right there, or it's a little bit more, a little bit less? I think you mentioned a big number. I'll let you tell us how big of a project that is for listeners here so you can see that we're not talking about something small, we're talking about big potential. So if you don't have the time to invest or to become an investor, we're opening up this opportunity right now to partner up with somebody who's been there, done it, and now he wants to give back, and we got to take advantage of this right now. Rashid, you want to tell us real quick before we finish our podcast, what is this project that's coming up, and what is so exciting about it for people that are listening right now?
So better, it's about 27 minutes in there, and I think we wanna close it at 30 minutes. We don't want to bore people, but we want to tell them that this is a continuum. There's a lot to tell. That there are things we're going to be talking about, how to buy land and how I buy land, what to look for, and then what to do if you're buying a house. Should you buy a house now? Is it a good market, or should you build a house? If you want to really invest, where do you invest in land or multifamily, single family? We're going to be talking about this almost every other day on these topics. But today I will just leave it here that the whole value chain is huge. Just like you have a value chain in any industry, in real estate there is a value chain, and we will break it down for you, one step at a time. We'll be talking about land, we'll be talking about single family, we'll be talking about multifamily, we'll be talking about senior living, assisted living. We'll be talking about storage homes. We'll be talking about all different kind of things in real estate and how we can help. I just want to clarify one thing. I have not taken any investor or anybody. I want to be very, very clear and careful, and I'm not asking you to invest with me at this point. I will be happy to guide you at this point, and then we'll filter it out and see if it makes sense. We go, excuse me, we go in some sort of a partnership where you will be putting your money into that partnership, not personally giving it to me. I don't want anybody's money. I just want to make sure that we do very clean and legal business. So we will actually just kind of conclude this, that if you are a person who don't have time but you want to invest in real estate, if you're looking for some guidance, we can have a first dialogue, and then we can decide how, what kind of guidance you need and how we can help you. A. And B, if you want to really invest, then we will, figure out that if it makes sense to go in some sort of, partnership, whether in, finding a land, developing a land, you know, setting up some tenancy and finding some rental properties, finding multifamily, finding, senior living. Just for example, I bought a land in Northborough, Mass, and then I realized that this could be an excellent facility for senior living, and we are setting a senior living, which is, 30 to 40 million dollar project. And then again, in that there are different aspects. One aspect is land development. The other aspect is facility development, and the third aspect would be operation development. So basically, you could actually just do land development. You could just do land approval. You can do land development. You can do building development, and in each echelon you have opportunity to save money. Like for example, in this 88 unit facility, I have gotten quote where the quotes come at to be 50 million all the way to 30 million. So now we have ability to develop land, and we have ability to build the facility. So we like
Wow.
to mitigate risk and save at every single stage. So I always, this is my last thing to say for entrepreneurs and engineers and professionals, always see the front end and the back end. You have to make sure that you mitigate the risk at the back end, like finding the land and developing the land and the cost of it, and then front end, which is the operation and sales side of things. So with that, I will conclude here, and then we will continue this discussion on echelon, each echelon of the real estate, and each step of the way, how you can maximize your value at the back end and maximize your value at the front end. And that's the reason I call, my company name is VMAX or Value Max. We maximize your value at each end.
Rich, thank you so much for that explanation. I think we have a very clear understanding now that you have the experience, what you've done, especially what's coming up for you. I want to thank you for this time. For those people watching, please continue to follow Rich Max in his YouTube channel. Again,
Yeah,
my name is
it's
Bedward
Rich
Ortiz.
VMAX. It's Rich VMAX. The YouTube is Rich VMAX, and the
Yes,
Twitter is at Rich VMAX. The TikTok is at Rich VMAX. So it's Rich VMAX.
got it. Rich VMAX, maximize your value. So, Rich, I want to thank you so much for this opportunity to be here today. Thank you for everybody watching, and I'll say to the next one, right?
Yes. Be healthy and be blessed. God
Amen.
bless you all.
Thank you. God bless you.